Hey, what's going on? It's Quinn David Furness, and this is my show. Quinn David Furness presents the Beantown podcast for Sunday, September 8th, 2019. What's going on? How are you? Why was 7 afraid of 9? Because 7, 8, 9. Listener discretion is advised. I didn't get that joke right, did I? Listener discretion is advised when you're listening to the Beantown podcast. Number 1. We'll occasionally use some Philly-esque language. Philly-esque, Phillyesque. Love a good word that ends in Q-U-E, like arabesque. That's a classic musical song. Musical song. What does that even mean? Other Q-U-E words. Well, you got Q. That's a crazy word. Q-U-E-U-E. It's like, we did it once and said, let's do it again. Number 2, the podcast is objectively terrible. This is the Beantown podcast. We're one of the better podcasts on the north side of Chicago. We used to be located out of Beantown, Baltimore. That's why you know us as the Beantown podcast. But we relocated back to Chicago, bigger market, more opportunities, all that good stuff. Well, happy birthday shout out to hashtag friend of the podcast and Beanhead Tarek Shahada, who has been on our show, one of the more popular episodes from this past summer. Tarek is the creator and host of, or co-creator, I don't know. How are we supposed to talk about this guy? Creator, host, co-producer, head producer, something like that, of the Local Glow podcast, which you probably know it, but hadn't had something new come out in a while, a couple months, I think. And we were fortunate enough to have a new episode of the Local Globe podcast drop this week. Thursday, Friday, something like that. Maybe before that. Tuesday, maybe. One of those weekdays. Go check it out. Really good episode. Got some fantastic stuff on it. And the reason we're doing a shout, happy birthday to the big dog. Tarek's birthday on Friday. Turning something again, and sorry I missed the big get together. I got a Facebook invite, couldn't go. I was in Philly this week, but before I get to the time I spent there, we do want to get a quick report on the weather from another friend of the podcast, Miss Alexa Brown.
Hello and welcome to sunny Boulder, Colorado, where the weather is firmly in the high 80s, low 90s for the week. It is so sunny and so hot that it is the perfect weather to sit down with your LaCroix, if that's how you pronounce it, as well as in front of your television with the air conditioning on full blast while you watch the last episodes of Parks and Recreation for the first time ever. So highly recommend those plans if, like me, you are sweating your butt off in the Colorado sun that's coming through the windows of your, thank God, air-conditioned apartment.
All right, that was excellent. Don't you think? Miss Alexa, what a keeper. If you ever get the chance to visit her out there in Boulder, Colorado, it's a beautiful place, and I know what you mean regarding the air conditioning. You got to have it. I can't imagine a world without an air conditioner. Also, last episodes of Parks and Recreation, classic NBC show. I think the last season just came out, a couple days ago. So good job catching up on those last episodes. I'm glad you're at the forefront of the television watching situation there. Well, I mentioned we were in Philly. We got there on Tuesday, had a canceled flight because the weather in Chicago was it was overcast, and O'Hare doesn't take any chances. Actually, I'm not sure what the problem was, but my flight was a flight basically, starts in Philly, goes to Chicago, and then comes back to Philly. That one never even left Philly, so I'm not sure what the problem was. Supposed to leave at like 11 a.m., didn't end up leaving until about 5 p.m., which was fine, but just, I didn't have any groceries at home because I didn't want to shop for a week when I was going to be gone, and I didn't really have a lot going on, so it was nice because I think I took a nap or something and I got a run in, but it was also one of those days where it's like I ended up just sitting around for a while. I was like, what am I supposed to do? Well, I get to Philly eventually late because you lose an hour or two, and didn't do much Tuesday, but then was at a conference, Wednesday through Saturday. Had some fun. Had a good time. The first thing I noticed, so I've been, ever since I moved back to Chicago, I've been working out a lot more. So I've been trying to work out 6 days a week. I've been on that routine for about 2 months now, the 6 days a week thing. This week it didn't happen because I was going to work out yesterday, but then for reasons which will become apparent once I describe my workout on Friday, it did not happen, and I don't know. See how I feel. I might go for a run today, but I try to rest on Sundays, so just go for a casual stroll to kick off the Sunday wind down. Well, we're at this Marriott, and it's 4 stories high, so it's not like a gigantic Marriott. It's kind of an older building, but it's also a conference center. It's got a ballroom, got a bunch of meeting rooms, all that good stuff. So there's a lot of people, coming in and out of this conference I was at. There were probably about 80 people attending, plus all the staff. So probably about 100 people in total just for this conference, right? Other people staying at the hotel. So I get there and was like, okay, so what's the workout room situation? What's the fitness center? You go to these hotels, you're not expecting like a gigantic gym, but something there to spice up your workout, keep your attention. So they're like, okay, just go over here, take a left. You'll see an open room on your right. I'm like, all right. So I go check it out. No lie. It's this tiny room under some stairs, and there is a treadmill. There is a stationary bike that has, like the seat with the back on it, so your arms aren't doing anything. It's just all thighs. And then smelling something in my apartment, like weed or something. Someone in my kitchen. Hey, stop smoking weed. It's not me. I've never smoked weed in my life. I just put some chicken in the oven. I don't know why my chicken smells like weed. It must be wafting from down the street or something. And the third one was just a standard stationary bike. That was the gym for this huge hotel, and it was just like, man, that really the options here? So my first full day there, Wednesday, I biked because I had run on Monday and Tuesday, and my legs aren't quite what they used to be. When I was a younger man, I could run 5 days straight and feel pretty good about it. But nowadays, man, I deal with some shin splints, although right now they're not bad. Deal with some calf issues, tight calves in general, which lead to other problems. And then I haven't had any hammy issues since I pulled it last winter. Yeah, it recovered, and I haven't had issues since. But it's always something that's kind of in the back of your mind. Oh, and then the plantar fasciitis I got going on my left foot, which is just a total pain in the ass. So I try not to run. When I'm on my normal routine, when I'm not traveling, I don't run more than one day in a row ever. I usually try to run Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So it's an every other day situation if you're doing the math at home. So this room, and it's right outside like the conference registration and all that stuff, and there's no privacy. It's just an open door. It's not even a closed door. So I did that on Wednesday at bike, and I was like, I gotta find something else. So Thursday morning I wake up early. I almost never wake up early, but I did. Breakfast, was at 8 a.m., so I woke up about 6, and I ran along the Delaware River, which is not exactly the scenic part of Philadelphia, very industrial, lots of shipping and cargo and ports and stuff, but there was a little path there. So I did a 3.5 mile stroll, if you will. And then Friday, I was feeling real adventurous. I knew I needed to run. My legs were feeling good. I wasn't as tight as I usually am. So I said, you know what? I'm going to run that damn Ben Franklin bridge that everyone's always talking about. So the conference ends at like 3:30 on Friday. Well, it ended for the day on 3:30 on Friday. I should mention briefly, friend of the podcast, been on many times before. Well, at least once. Auntie Anna. Had dinner with her on Thursday night right across the street from the Liberty Bell. Boy, was it delicious. Thanks for coming out, Auntie Anna. And she went to Virginia for a wedding. Watch out for the hurricane, is what they'll tell you. Didn't hit Alabama, though. I know everyone was saying it was. So Friday, I'm going to run the Ben Franklin Bridge, right? It's about a half mile for me to get to the base of the bridge from my hotel, and then one way, if you're on the whole bridge, I think is 1.8 miles, something like that. Let's see. Yeah, that sounds about right in that range. But there is a big incline, right? This is a bridge that goes from regular ground level all the way up. I'm not sure what the overall, climb is. Probably about, 200 feet over 3/4 of a mile, which doesn't sound like a ton, and it's not, but it's a lot when you're trying to run it. If you're just walking, you'll notice it, but you're like, whatever. But when you're running it, it's pretty damn steep. So I'm feeling pretty good. Right when I step outside of the hotel, though, it starts raining, and it wasn't that cold, but probably mid-60s. So once the rain starts to fall, you'll feel it until you get warmed up. So I run to the base of the bridge. I'm feeling fine. Do the first incline. Got the killers on in my headphones, my iPod. I'm feeling pretty good. And it's, I'm huffing and puffing as I get closer to the top of the bridge, getting ready to come back down. But I was like, I feel okay. Then there's pretty much no level ground on the bridge. You pretty much get to the top and then you come back down. And of course, I don't know if I'm alone in this, but I feel like I'm not. When you're running, it seems like all the downhill you do to make up for the uphill, it doesn't really make up for it because you're not magically healing your thighs the same way you're killing them when you're going up. So I come down, you descend into Jersey, right into the campus of, Rutgers, Camden. And I get down and pretty soaked at that point. It got really foggy and misty up there, and the higher up you get into the atmosphere, the colder it is. And so that rain at kind of ground level, river level, if you will, was pretty hail-ish, Hailish. It was all up in your face and stuff, and you get moisture in your ears between your headphones and your ear, and it's just a pain in the butt. So, I definitely had the thought when I was on top of the bridge, it was like, if I descend into Jersey, I got to do this whole thing over again, and it's pretty wet. But I said, you know what? It sucks right now, but I'll have a good story to tell after. And lo and behold, here I am telling the story on the podcast. So not much else happened, but I descended to Jersey. I retie my shoes, pump up some tunes, and I go right back up. And it really hurt my thighs that time. By the time I got to the top, I was in not pain, but just slowing down here. So I descend back into Pennsylvania and, get to the base of the bridge, and then it's only about half a mile back to the hotel. But, I had to consistently kind of alternate between heel strike first and mid strike first, just to keep my calves going. I usually, when I just run like normal, I'm very much a heel strike first type of guy, but sometimes if my calves are starting to give out on me, I got to switch to mid strike first. Not even mid strike first, just mid strike. And occasionally when I do that, I can get into calf issues. I mentioned that I pulled my hammy last winter. That was the winter before, right after I ran that marathon. This past winter was my calf that I strained. That sucked too. And that I always, when I do mid-strike, that's always the concern, is that I'll re-injure that calf, because that was the problem last winter. And I could tell by right when I finished, I was like, ooh, this is pretty sore. This is getting into danger zone. So I walked it off. I woke up Saturday morning really, really sore. It reminded me of like, I don't usually feel that sore after my workouts. I usually have, solid workouts, but I'm not usually waking up the next morning and be like, oh, damn. Well, I woke up Saturday morning. I was like, oh, damn. My thighs are very sore. They're almost better right now as of Sunday midday, but I still feel a little bit. Thankfully, the calf where I was having issues or potential for issues is in pretty good shape. But I decided not to run yesterday. In fact, I was in the park in Philly, about 2 miles from my hotel. Just, I don't know the name of the town. I walked down through 9th Street there, Italian Market, and then kind of angled over to the southwest, almost to Broad Street. And there's a little park there with like a baseball diamond and stuff. And I sat there and read my book for a little bit, reading 11/22/63, by the way, by Stephen King, classic book that's been out for a couple years. And lots of people running. It was a nice day in Philly yesterday, good day for running. A little on the warm side, but not too bad. In fact, aside, there was this one lady, probably my age, mid to late 20s, who was just running around that one block. That was it. And she did it, I don't know, from the time I was sitting there at least 15 times. It just kept going and going and going. And I don't know how city blocks are measured in Philly, but, I mean, they had to have been, at least like, I don't know, 2 miles, 3 miles just doing that. And, man, that sounds really boring to me. Just doing the same block around this one park. Woof. But she kept going. Good on her. But as I was watching her, for the 12th time, I was thinking, maybe I should go for a run. I haven't done much today. We finished up our conference midday, and then I just kind of walked, all in all, only 4 miles. But, I was like, I should get some exercise, not just walk. But then I started to walk back to the hotel thinking, maybe I'll do this. And I felt my thighs, and I was like, nah, I'm not going to last. I should mention I was extra sore because I ran the Ben Franklin Bridge on Thursday night. Early evening. And then after that, I walked up to Yards Brewing Company, which is a Philly tradition like none other. And I had dinner there and a brew. It was delicious. And then from there, I walked around quite a bit more. All in all, I put in about 4 miles on that walk, too. So, 4.5 to 5 mile run, showered, then walked for 4 miles. And it was still raining. It was never like a downpour. It was just consistent drizzle, if you will, which is what they used to say about my English papers. But I needed to walk off that dinner a little bit. Walked through Center City, got the classic pictures of City Hall and Liberty Bell, all that classy stuff. So I opted not to do much of anything yesterday. And probably won't do much today. But I'm giving myself a pass, first week in a couple months here that I haven't worked out 6 days out of 7. So I think 5 out of 7 is still pretty good, especially when you're traveling. So that was what my time was like in Philly. If you ever get the chance to drink Yards, it's delicious. Yard or Yards? I think it's Yards. Yards Brewing Company. It sounds right. What sounds even better is if we take a little ad break here, and then I'm going to come back with a short-ish second half, but music is what we're going to be talking about. You're going to hear some music. We're going to talk about some music. I've got a special surprise for you on the other side of this ad break. All right. Home Pride, Oregon. You tired of selling your house for less than a quarter of what it's worth, all because you couldn't find a reliable home inspector in time? Well, Oregon listeners, I got good news for you. Home Pride Inspection Services in Bend, Oregon is Central Oregon's hottest new home inspection provider with inspection services including things like heating and cooling, roofing, plumbing, and so much more. Home Pride Oregon is both contractor certified and home inspection certified, so you're getting the good stuff. If you're tired of big real estate stranglehold on the home inspection market, and you want a safe, certified home inspector that you can trust, always call Steve at 541-410-0316, or you could always visit homeprideoregon.com. Again, it's 541-410-0316, or visit homeprideoregon.com. Home Pride Oregon, inspection perfection. Special shout out to the Samson Q2U series. Doesn't matter if I go away for 5 days to Philly for a conference, Samson's still here when you need it. From Genesis to Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, whether you're telling the gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, when God speaks, he uses a Samson. And we were actually just got off the horn of family chat this morning. And we were talking about my brother's birthday, which is next month, but my mom was my mom, Jane, you know her, was talking about Walter's birth story, which we never got I never actually heard the story. I don't know what it is, but I thought she was referring to the birth of Jesus. So I started reciting some scripture and ended up getting a stand-up bit idea out of it, which I got to write down my thoughts later. But kind of the joke revolved around the fact that those wise men bring Jesus gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Baby Jesus getting gold. Assuming he invested that, he was probably pretty well off. Going through life, and this whole kind of, barefoot savior of the poor guy seems kind of like a mirage, doesn't it? Maybe not the real Jesus Christ. I could write a Bill O'Reilly kind of book on this stuff called The Real Jesus Christ. And then I have the sequel called The Real Jesus Christ, except it's REEL, and it could be a fishing book. I'll make you fishers of men. Fishes and loaves night. Always a good time at the ballpark. Shout out to Torrid Curves. They make bras for you, A size, B size, C size, and double D size. For all shapes and sizes, don't go with horrid bras, go with Torrid Curves. They fit you like a glove. Still got to work on the ad for that. And it would be great if they got back to us, because we would love to partner with Torrid Curves. All right, last one here, and then I got a very special surprise for you. I made you wait for it, but you're going to like it. Cuts by Q. Bob and weave. We all know the hairstyle, and we all love it. But how many Chicago-based independent barbers can actually give it to you the way you deserve? Here's a tip. Enter Cuts by Q. It's like Enter Sandman, but different. Cuts by Q has been independently owned and operated since 1995. I should really try to get Mariano Rivera to read this ad. I'll get back to you on that. And it's probably one of the better barbershop operations servicing cook. Is it serving or servicing? Is there a difference? Probably not in this context. Serving and seeing Chicago, Cook County, and the greater Chicagoland area, from beehives to bangs, faux hawks to flat tops, and everything in between. You better call Cuts by Q at 815-298-7200, or you could always email cutsbyq@yahoo.com. Again, that's Cuts, Qutz, by Q@yahoo.com. Oh, and thanks again to Matthew for singing the song last week. When you need a fresh do, something snappy and new, just call the experts at Cuts by Q. Ba-dum-bum. Not bad. Not bad at all. All right, you ready for that special surprise? Well, I was walking around Philly yesterday, and it's a big Irish kind of town. A lot of Irish, a lot of Italians. And I don't know how this came to be, but I said, you know what? For this week's podcast, I should sing an Irish song. But instead of just boring old Quinn voice, let's try out a new impression, I suppose you could say. And I also, as a quick aside family chat this morning, I've never tried a Chris Collinsworth impression before, but there was a slide-in of sorts from #from the podcast, Kelly. And I kind of wanted her to, break down the new look Steelers offense. No Le'Veon Bell, no Antonio Brown, no Jesse James, right? He's gone. And she didn't do it, but I kind of did a Chris Collinsworth impression for the family, and it ended up going pretty well. I think it was pretty popular. But this isn't Chris Collinsworth singing an Irish lullaby. This is Gollum, or Smeagol. But Gollum is who we're going with. Him from J.R.R. Tolkien's, or else it'd be Junior Tolkien. John Russell Robert Tolkien, something like that. Gollum sings Irish Lullaby. Here you go. Take it away.
Irving Kalani, many years ago, my mother sang a song to me in tones so sweet and low, just a simple little ditty in her good old Irish way, and I'd give the world if she could sing that song to me this day. Tur-a-lu-ra-lu-ra, tur-a-lu-ra-la, tur-a-lu-ra-lu-ra. Hush now, don't you cry. Tur-a-lu-ra-lu-ra, tur-a-lu-ra-la, tur-a-lu-ra-lu-ra. That's an Irish lullaby.
Hey, not too bad for a first stab at it. Yeah, I was walking around Philly yesterday, before and after the bar, and trying out my Gollum Sings Irish Lullaby. If you don't know the song, it's a beautiful, beautiful little tune there. But I'm proud of myself, first time. Not bad. Maybe Andy Serkis, you want to subscribe to the podcast? Hey, Peter Jackson. Email beantownpodcast@yahoo.com. Again, it's Beantown, Beantown podcast @yahoo.com. We would love to hear from you. Not a lot of action on the email lately, mostly spam, but even then the Nigerian princes have kind of dried up, if you will, unfortunately. One other thing I wanted to mention, a shout out to Death Cab for Cutie. Yes, they're still a band. Yes. Dropped a new EP yesterday. They had already, or 2 days ago, they had already released 2 of the 5 songs from it, and I really liked one of them and wasn't a big fan of the other one. But it's called the Blue EP. They just blew themselves, and it's beautiful. So they've got a lot of good, well, there's 5 songs. I really like 2 of them in particular. The whole thing's good, but I really like 2 of them. One of them has been out for a while. It's called To the Ground. Really good drums by, what's his name? Jason something. It's a drummer for Death Cab for Cutie. He's been there since the beginning. But then also the one that they just dropped with the album release, Blue Bloods. Not the Tom Selleck show, although Dave, what's his name? Damper, something like that, has a cool new mustache. He looks like he should be in Portugal the Man or something. But the video they dropped for that was really cool. It's not a music video per se. It's just kind of them in the studio, but there's some good sort of production value and camera work and all that stuff to it. It's a beautiful video. The song is amazing too. Feels very much like, I don't want to say old school Death Cab for Cutie, because people like me who are fans know what actual old school Death Cab is. Like, we're talking like 1995, playing whenever they formed. I think 97, so right around then, like playing their sets in Seattle and Bellingham and stuff. That's not even really their sound. That was just them kind of getting their feet wet. I'm talking like transatlanticism stuff, early to mid 2000s. That's kind of what this EP sounds like. And it's beautiful. They did a really nice job with it. So I'll listen to anything Ben Gibbard puts out until the day he dies, and long after that, if he goes before I do. Anyways, that's all I wanted to share with you. Trip to Philly, running the Ben Franklin Bridge, weather report from friend of the podcast, Alexa, and Gollum sings Irish Lullaby. Go check out the Blue EP by Death Cab for Cutie as well. It's only 5 songs. You'll thank me later. That's all we got this week for you on the Beantown podcast. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Don't forget, you can find us anywhere you find your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, all that good stuff. Wherever they wherever the hell else they are is what I was trying to say there. Player FM is a thing. I don't know. I never used it. But and sometimes on YouTube. Just it kind of depends on my computer. Sometimes the upload goes through, sometimes it doesn't. And I don't really know what to do about that, but oh well. As a reminder, thanks again last week, Matthew Fiedler, for coming on the podcast. Read a couple ads for us, or an ad, I suppose. And again, White Noise Podcast, a show that we created and we co-host together. A little erratic upload schedule right now, but we're gonna look into it for you. And then in a couple weeks, we'll have a very special episode for you because we filmed it. Right, it was a lot of fun. And I think that one's going to turn out pretty well. I think we're going to put our faces on the map there, per se. Okay, that's what I got for you. Everyone, have a good week. Go Vikes! I didn't even talk about Bears Packers. I'll let the Bears fans just soak it up. It's okay. They don't need any more pain. Just tune into 670 The Score for that. But go Vikes versus the Falcons today. I actually like the Falcons. Friend of the podcast, Ryan Austin Ligon, is a big Atlanta Falcons fan. Well, for the next 3 hours, he's hashtag enemy of the podcast. But then once 3 o'clock hits, we'll be back to being friends. Okay. Go Vikes. Good luck to everyone on their fantasy teams today. And didn't even talk about Antonio Brown. That's okay. You can find it all online, on the internet. Having trouble talking today. That's my cue to leave. Catch you later.